Hello, welcome to Everyday Experts. I am your host, Senor Guason or Sir Joker. I am here with a very, very important human being, a very good man. I actually, quote unquote, manage him in a Fantastic Film Trivia League, but I don't really manage him because he doesn't really need managing. It's managing in the same way that Floyd Mayweather doesn't need managing, and LeBron doesn't really need coaching, and stuff like that.
Hey, how you guys doing? Whoops, I guess I'm taking over for Joker now. He popped out. I'll give him a second to come back. Oh, we got John Bainbridge in the building saying hi, Joker. Hi, Ryan. Hi, John. How you doing? I'm gonna vamp a little till he gets back here, and he's back. Thank God.
Apologize. Big fingers, little buttons. Yeah, he's a man that doesn't need a lot of guidance. Very, very efficient and very self-directed. Mr. Ryan Payne is many things. He's currently a college student. He is an actor. He's a trivia aficionado. He is a person that has been doing very well in the Fantastic Film Trivia League. The other leagues, I don't know all of them, so I don't want to misrepresent. He's a big wrestling fan, and we're going to get into a lot of those things. I found a quote, because Mr. Payne is an actor. I never act. I simply bring out the real animal that's in me. That's by William Dafoe. So the very astute, the very well-learned, the very Afrocentric, and I don't say that because I like his fro he's rocking tonight, Mr. Ryan Payne.
What's going on, man?
Hello, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, actually, and I do appreciate what you said, that even though you do manage me and you do compare me to these guys, but even then, I still appreciate the management. I still appreciate the help. I mean, I would not be as good as I am, or at least I would not have any certain drive or ambition if there wasn't somebody teaching or coaching me or managing me alongside, like really trying to make me see exactly how good I can actually be. So even though I do appreciate what you said, though, but even then, it's still fun, like just like being on screen, going back and forth with each other.
Yeah, I like that. We do have a very good dynamic. I like just the knowledge, because, like I said, it's always been fun. And I think that's what's most important. Mr. Payne, we have Mr. Bainbridge. Hello, sir. Mr. Matt, of course. Hello to our...
Hello, Bainbridge. Hey, John, what's up?
Mr. Kramer. Hello, sir. I try to say hi to people as they pop in. So, Mr. Payne, are you ready to take flight?
I mean, not really, but if one thing I've learned, no one is really ever ready, especially since we're both big Joker, Batman fans. I mean, to quote the great Liam Neeson in Batman Begins, death does not wait for you to be ready.
Ooh, I like it. Unleash the fury. So, I see your amazing Joker poster in the background. I, too, have one of those. But we can talk about that. I know that wasn't necessarily something we were going to, but I have to start with my official first question.
Yeah.
If you could be a vampire, a werewolf, a wolf, a zombie, a ghost, or a serial killer, which would you pick and why, sir?
It's kind of funny because originally, of course, when I used to work at places like a Halloween attraction, so being a zombie was easy because all I had to do was just shut my brain off. But I don't know. For the longest time, the thing that scared me the most, it's funny, all those actually have, like, they share a very good, like, child fear I used to have. As a kid, I was terrified of vampires because the whole thing that they can creep in the night and then bite you in the neck. So I'd always sleep with my blankets up to here. But werewolves are a kind. But I say if I had to come down, I would say a werewolf because it kind of comes to the whole thing of you have an uncontrollable urge inside of you that no matter how hard you try or how good you want to be, it's going to get out.
Right.
So I would have to say werewolf is because there's this podcast I've been listening to for the last year. It's called Mythological Monsters. And they do this great thing of telling stories of monsters from mythology and comparing them to society fears. So
Ooh.
they did one episode on the werewolf, and they did talk about how the werewolf does represent within us an uncontrollable and sometimes monstrous thirst or hunger within us that we just can't no matter how hard we try to suppress it or escape, it inevitably comes out of us, and that constant fear. Because I don't know, to compare it to current to certain current events, the whole thing with the quarantine, with the Black Lives Matter protest, and even with everything that's just happened, like maybe the last, even though it's 2022, but just the last 3 years from what I've seen of current events, people are always afraid of wanting to show their real selves or afraid of saying something that's going to make them come off as a monster, even though context is everything. But it just falls to where I think I like what from that listening to that episode, what I liked with the werewolf is that when we are this creature when we are this rageful creature, even though we are not fully aware of our actions, we ultimately suffer the consequences of it. I know it was just a fun question, but I don't know. I got a little too deep there.
No, listen. This is your show, your platform. You can take it wherever you need to, sir. So for your fans that want to be able to answer trivia questions about you, what was young Mr. Ryan Payne like growing up? I know you said you had siblings, but what was that like?
It was it was a constant competition. Not like my siblings and I were trying to always be better, but because I was a year apart from my older brother, 2 years apart from my little brother, and so for a while until my little sister came around, we were kind of in competition with each other for our parents' affection, which I do of course realize through so many from other friends that's what it's like for siblings. But at that time, it did shape a lot of my my competitiveness, because either if it was just board games, later on when we got video games, or we were just playing outside, there was always that need of just trying to win in the end. But being second youngest, the older brother always had to make the rules. So no matter what I tried, he comes out on top.
He changed them.
Yeah. I won't say it developed a chip on my shoulder, but it did develop a drive to where I had to push myself a little harder to win.
Yeah, you called it a competitive edge. You were always looking for that competitive edge. A wise man in our pre-interview said that your mind usually went straight to getting it done. Getting things done. What does that mean for you, sir?
I don't, honestly, to me, before, if you had told this to me when I was just starting out in college, or at least I was in high school, it was just all about having that a complete focus of just wanting to that complete focus on working your butt off, just getting whatever was in front of you, either it was just a homework or a task or or a goal that you wanted to, or a dream that you wanted to accomplish in front of you. And it didn't matter exactly what road you were going to take. You were going to do whatever it took to get it done.
Right.
To me nowadays, when I hear a quote like that or something similar to it, I think it just falls to understanding what you want to accomplish, either if it's just for today or what something you want to accomplish within the month, what exactly you're going to do, really take account of what you have in front of you, what's available to you, and how you're going to get it done.
Okay. Your parents belonged to a rec center when you were younger, and you said that had, I guess, an influence in your life. in terms of
Well,
sports?
Yes, it did. But even then, I know with my parents volunteering, or at least being very hands-on at one of our local rec centers, it did make uh, it did make me at the time as a kid. Of course, I was just someone who just wanted my own time. So whenever I had what my mom was doing, my mom and my dad were involved in help organizing, like whenever they went to meetings, or whenever they wanted to organize, of course, any soccer, whatever sports was happening there. Like they had to organize over the weekend, which was baseball or soccer, occasionally maybe basketball. I had to myself or any one of my brothers we weren't forced, but we just had to tag along. And so it made me I don't know, it's not resentful, but just more of the line of, well, you know, that thought you get when you're young, when you're older, like, man, I can be doing anything right now instead of this.
Right.
I guess what that fell down to for me was having too much time to myself, to where I don't know, I let my mind wander a lot more, to where it did blossom into having being very having a wild imagination, which did make going to the theater not that hard to transition to because of my wild imagination. Or it was just more of course, at the time, being a kid, you have zero patience. So I don't know. It was just kind of those things to where I had zero interest in what my family was doing, but looking back at it, I realized that the rec center I went to like maybe a couple of years ago, it is still around. It's still, doing those small events. And I think I do know that my mom is still involved in that rec center, but she's just not as hands-on as she used to be before. So looking at it now, or at least revisiting that spot, really made me realize during that time I had a very productive childhood, rather if I did not know it. So there was like a lot of memories I can take back from that, from my parents being a part of that. Got to meet a lot, met a lot of like-minded kids. Either it was sports. Oh, there was definitely something to do when I was sitting on the sets.
So you were big into football and you were big into baseball. You played baseball.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I mean, football, baseball, soccer were the three like constant active sports I was doing. Because that was available to us. I would only play basketball for fun, but whenever it came down to little league, or if it was something that was that actually allowed me to at least have 4 to 5 hours away from home, like play football or flag football or just simple touch football, it was more of like I take advantage of it.
Well, that makes sense. What turned you off from baseball?
I do remember it was at the first time when my parents signed me up for summer baseball, which was something where I was just not into, because baseball to me was something I would like to do over the winter and spring. So it was already taking up so much time. But of course, when you realize it's going to eat up your summer and then you're back at school again, I mean, it really wasn't that easy for me to lose love in baseball. It was just a set of circumstances that kind of made me walk away from playing baseball completely, because this was around the time one of my favorite baseball players, Tony Gwynn, was starting to retire from the game, and then my parents did sign me up for summer baseball, to keep that passion going. And then I don't know, every 2 or 3 games I was always getting hit by a baseball. So I really don't know if it was just the universe telling me, I think it's time you wash your hands of this, or it was just my brain saying, yeah, no, we're not doing this anymore.
We're good.
Yeah. If I'm going to get hit, I'd rather hit back,
So, speaking of hitting back, you like football. And then you said that football tested certain things in your life, like it brought out different, I guess, qualities in you.
Yeah, it did. mostly along. I mean, it had nothing to do with, obviously it's not physical qualities, because for me it was more if I couldn't do something, if I couldn't get a play right, if I couldn't be as strong. Because when I started off, I actually wanted to be like from watching so many football games, I actually wanted to be a linebacker, but I was not the right size for it. So my coaches at that time, I mean, the reason why I thought linebacker was because when I was in middle school, I was playing flag football a lot, and it didn't require me to do like, all I had to do was just like grab the flags of the other team. So it was easy for me because I was very fast going off of the jump starts. That's why I thought for linebacker, I'm like, oh, it's not that hard. Sure, I'll have pads down, I'll have gear on, I'll be weighed down a little bit, but that's nothing that a couple of drills won't get me to increase my speed. But one of the coaches in my freshman year looked at me compared to some of the other guys and go, we're going to put you on offensive line. That was not a smart play, because they put me as a center, like to hike the ball. And unfortunately, I was not having a good time adjusting to that transition, because one time I did have a breakdown a little bit. It was because when we did drills, this was like first day I had the gear on, the first time I'm actually wearing actual pads, because some of the other guys, they knew me from playing flag football, so they knew I was going to be fast, I was going to be good, and I had no problem keeping up when we had to do practice runs or drills without the pads. When I put that stuff on, it was like a freaking nightmare. None of the pads was staying in the same spot. My mouth guard just kept coming undone. It wasn't helping that none of the teammates were trying to back up. It was just more of, coaches giving us these drills. Let's keep focusing on it.
Right.
Can you guys give me a second to breathe? Stop focusing. My mouthpiece is hanging right. I'll fix it later. It wasn't until finally I just snapped. I walked away after the quarterback was just, I think at the time, even though he was trying to be the leader, he was coming up as an asshole to me. So I just walked off, away from the field, decided to sit my back up against the fence just to catch my breath. And I think after maybe 20, 25 minutes, I went back in. But it was just like one of those times where I'm not doing this. And I decided not to continue with freshman football, at least for that year. I mean, at least after the first 3 games, I was just done. I just went to my coach like, look, I'm sorry, I don't have the mental faculties to hold. I just can't do this right now. So when I came back again for JV for my sophomore year, that time I was more prepared to handle myself with pads. My biggest problem, of course, was just, varsity, because at that time I'm just like, just give me my assignments, I'll do my job. I will, I wasn't focused on team building. I was just more focused on my own shit. So whenever some of the guys in varsity started messing with us JV guys, I'm just like, oh, let's just get this over with. So they knocked me down a few times. They would, do some jokes. I'm just like, can these guys just be done so we can get back to work? That's how it was for me. Like yeah, exactly. I've had actually every time I played football for sophomore, senior, and junior year, I had that whole fuck it moment to where this is not worth it. Especially no matter how many, and of course, I was a big sports fan growing up. So like through movies, television shows, like I see we're gonna get those hard ass coaches that's gonna focus on putting us through the whole thing. Because I know in my sophomore year in JV, I had one coach. I mean, he's not a bad coach, but he definitely came off to me as a hard ass. Because I remember one game, we come back from one game, coach, I think, was not happy with some of our performances. So he takes us to he takes us to one room that's used for wrestling, and he just makes us start doing up downs until to 100. Yeah.
In a wrestling room?
Yes. And there was at least 20, 25 of us. And this wasn't 25 of us. It wasn't a very spacey room, because that room was like for 10 to 12 people. So we all had to find at least enough space so we didn't collide with each other. And he said if we started getting exhausted, we would have to do sit-ups instead. So I think around I can't remember if I got to 50 or 60. I passed. I was just done. I decided to just do sit-ups. Waited until the assistant coach said, "Hey, the parents are asking for the kids." I'm like, Thank fucking God. But I stayed focused on there. I just couldn't continue playing with both teams for the same reason, which was because of academic reasons.
Your junior year, what happened? I know freshman, sophomore, you did football, and then what happened junior year? Because I know your senior year you started acting, and you were kind of just like,
Yes.
I'm good with football.
Well, in my junior year, it went a little better than I expected because this time, once again, I learned something from last year from like, you know what? I'm not going to mess up this time. I'm going to go even harder, or at least I'm going to be a little more smarter about it. And also at the same time, I was always upgrading from different positions because I was center my sophomore in my junior year. Freshman. Sorry. Sophomore, they put me as an outside tackle and a tight end, and then as an outside linebacker at times. So it was helpful. And then I finally got to be around like a linebacker and a tight end. So coaches were really putting me in positions to where they saw my body shape and they thought I can work better that way. But then, of course, for junior year, unfortunately, junior year, I ended up getting slightly hurt. I can't remember exactly how bad it was. I just remember after one of our practices, coach was just disappointed in the team. He made us start doing suicide runs. Then all of a sudden, when I'm in the middle of them, I feel like a pull on my muscle to where my ribs felt like they were being very compressed into me, where it felt like my lungs were on fire. I stopped. Coach was yelling at me to get back on that field. I told him, I can't. I'm having a hard time breathing. Of course, mom takes me. And then but when I get back from practice, I'm having a hard time, like, moving my right arm a little bit. Like doing a full motion. Like, when I would bring my right arm forward, like right to here, I'd immediately start feeling a tight compression. So, and then I would move it back. I could move it before. I used to move it all the way back, but whenever I would bring my elbow right to my side here, it hits up again. It takes me to, of course, to a ligament, not exactly. Oh, I mean a doctor, yeah, but sure. I can't remember exactly, but she does take me to a doctor, and it just turns out I have a pulled muscle right along my spine. So it's making me having a hard time with my right side. I can move my left, no problem. It was that right side. So really, it pissed me off too because I was starting to get in my stride. And I had to miss three to 4 games. So I was on the side being like an assistant, like helping the crew when it came with gear, when it came with water, showing them some side support. And at the same time, there was at least one person on that team. For some reason, I don't know why, we just never got along. He just becomes more aggressive towards me. I brush him off. And I think we were 3 games into the whole playoffs. Unfortunately, academic issues forced me to leave the team again. And I remember my coach, which in hindsight is really stupid, but he made those who unfortunately had to leave the team through academic issues, had to make us go up in front and plead to the team to ask us to play for the homecoming game.
What?
Yeah, because in his words, he wanted to cut us, but because some of us were like in key positions on the team, he asked us to plead our cases to everybody. I'm just going, this is fucking ridiculous. If you don't want me to play, you don't want me to play. I'm not gonna plead in front of these guys, especially when there's 2 who don't like me. And the one guy who really got agitated with me, oh my God. Of course, this is mid-2000s. This is around the time where everyone's into the whole, snitches get stitches or no snitching kind of thing. This guy who doesn't like me, he immediately snitches on me and says, I'm academic. I got bad grades, which the coach already knew. And so when I'm starting to, yeah, exactly, John. But when I'm starting to give my case to the team, like, look, if you guys don't want me on here, I completely understand. It's not like I'm not trying to stand up here and let you guys down. It's just more of, I don't see the point here. And I remember, and these words really stuck out to me when I'm trying to give this little speech. And he goes, I don't know why you guys I just don't know why. And his response was, because you're not down. I look at him and go, who cares if I'm not down? Like, I don't know what that guy's problem with me was, but it was just something to where, which is funny because even in flag football, there was somebody agitated as well, which I find out I ended up having a class with him in middle school. I did not remember him at all, but he remembered me, and he kept bugging me throughout one of our classes. Till finally one day I'm going, he looks so familiar to me. I just don't know where. And then one thing I remember in middle school, we used to keep our textbooks like in our classrooms. I could not find mine for anything. And I'm like, I did not lose it. I did not take it home. One thing just happened. Someone either took it by mistake or someone intentionally stole it. So my teacher, who knows I'm a good student, she says, I'll give you this. I'll have you look at some of the textbooks that we have here. If you find yours, or if you think you find yours, let me know. I ended up finding mine. My name was scribbled over by the student who stole it. And it's that same jackass who had been bothering me. Turns out, I remember him because I played flag football with him. He was one of the quarterbacks on the 14 and older team, 14 and up, which my older brother played on. I don't know why he got pissed with me, but then I started remembering I used to have this kind of back and forth with him. Not like we were fucking with each other for fun, but like we honestly got on each other's nerves. I must have made a fucking impression for him to remember me, because I didn't remember him. I made that big of an impression. He steals my fucking textbook, and I let my teacher know, here's my textbook. Someone just took mine and put their name on it. And then about 2 months later, he's gone from the class. So apparently, one thing I find out is that I have this knack of getting on people's nerves. I tend to not remember them, but they sure as hell remember me.
Interesting. I like it. So that means you make an impression on people.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to keep rambling on here, but it's just
you're fine.
Funny.
You're good. It gives context. You started acting in your senior high school. Yes. I hate bullies so much. Viscerally to my core.
Yeah, John, I definitely had bullies in middle school, without a doubt. From seventh, 8th, and freshman year in middle school, I had bullies. Don't know why. It was just, for some stupid reason, I attracted one person who wanted to either just mess with me or just make me like a punching bag. My whole thing was just ignore them and move on. Because, to be honest, don't remember them. Don't even remember what they looked like, what clothes they wore. I see them again. It's like, oh, okay, I remember you.
Yeah, but I don't. So you started. When did you get the acting bug?
Well, it was around senior year. It was actually around that time where I remember my parents were saying, you're gonna do varsity this year for senior year because you were on a good track. And at the time, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I could, but I did not go to summer during summer where they would do their 2-a-day practices. And then finally, school's getting ready to start. There was a deadline to apply or go to the coach's office and sign up for it. I go there and I'm just standing at the top of the gym where and about 2 levels down, there's the football field, but they were doing the practice on the baseball field. I'm just watching them perform. I'm just watching them do their drills. Honestly, felt nothing. I honestly felt nothing. Like I felt no drive to go down there. I felt no urge to go down to the coach and stand right next to him or the assistant coach, get their attention. Like, hi, I'm here to sign up for varsity. Nothing. None of that was there.
Wow.
I just walked. I just turned my back, headed right back up to catch the bus home, which at that time, when I was in high school, my family unfortunately had to leave our childhood home because my dad was having issues with some of the renters or the homeowners at the time. So from my junior year to senior year, to do a partial my senior year, we were living with my grandma. And then finally, I think towards the end of senior year, we did get a home. Actually, lived with my grandma twice, honestly. During partial of my sophomore, junior year, we did have a home, which was 6 blocks away from where I used to go to elementary school, but we had to leave that because it was just a terrible setup. And Dad finally did get a good house for the rest of my senior year, which I did. We did live along through the majority of my junior when I was in community college. But it was around that time where I just had no interest because of what's been happening at home. So I guess some of that personal stuff was affecting me. And also my dad was always going back and forth from Los Angeles. So it was just kind of the whole, like, there's no incentive or drive for me to play football, especially at the time I was doing the public bus. So the last thing I want is to take equipment home and all of a sudden get hassled on a bus and have it stolen from me. Like, a lot of factors are going in my head. I'm thinking, what's the easiest for me to do? And I just remember from junior year, I hung out with sophomore, junior, I hung out with some friends who were part of and one of the homerooms for the Japanese language class. And 3 of them that I got to know very well were doing drama. And that's what led to me where I go, you know what? I enjoyed my time in speech class. I did a slight bit of drama. I signed up for drama, and that's where it just led to acting. For the longest time, I used to think that was kind of like something I settled on. But even then, now I was like, I enjoyed the whole performing aspect. Sports was just more of the whole physical thing, to where I'm performing physically, where I don't have to use my mental game unless when it comes to strategy. So I thought, you know what? Let's fucking do this. I'm not going to just sit around my senior year.
So, you had a very astute quote. You said you were a tunnel vision type of man.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, sir. Please elucidate.
Oh, God. I don't like clarifying myself that way, but unfortunately, just something I honestly know, because when there's something I want to do, that one goal, I don't honestly see any other like alternatives, like any other possibilities or any other road to get to that goal. I just see straight ahead. Like when it came to playing sports, I was willing to play any kind of sports, but I was not open to any other possibilities outside of what was presented to me. Like, I know at the rec center there was soccer, baseball, basketball, but they also did some fun stuff for like they even had like a small little tennis and volleyball court. Which I thought that could have been fun to learn that game. But it was just more of influences to where, oh no, I stayed towards those sports. And then when football came, I believe I was so dead set on focusing on wanting to play like linebacker or so. So when the other options were presented to me, I kind of did not give 100% to those tasks, which is probably one of the reasons why I had that breakdown, which is why I just did not have that focus towards my academic goals, because I was so focused on just trying to excel in the field. So it was just that one track mind I had, which made it difficult for me to start to juggle, to actually start balancing a lot of stuff around me.
So speech class was very important to you because you had mentioned it. A young lady that you were fond of was in that class, but we won't talk about that. I do want to ask you that you mentioned the competition and the competitive edge you sought. Did that carry over into theater and acting?
It definitely did, honestly. It's one of the things with acting is like, it's especially when that's one of the things when I started reading when I started to take drama. Teacher, of course, learning all different about the history of theater, all the different plays that were of that was just available, and just all of the plays, books, everything, and reading all the stuff. I was immediately drawn to it, especially wanting to play the big characters, especially when our two guys do Shakespeare. I'm like, I want to do that. I want to be on stage and be Othello. Yes, theater. The theater aspect. I wanted to jump. I don't protest too much. I wanted to jump on stage and be the characters like King Lear, like Hamlet, like the guys who are the main subject of those plays. That's where the one track mind went to, where I'm not looking at all the other interesting characters in that book. For example, King Lear. I'm all focused on, I want to read that part. I'm not looking at the fact that there's the character of Kent. I'm not looking at the Gloucester. I'm not looking at the Fool. I'm not looking at one of the Earl of Gloucester. I'm not even looking at, oh my God, I forgot the name of the two sons, the two sons of the Earl of Gloucester. I didn't look at those roles. It's not until like my eyes need to be pried. Someone literally, not literally, but someone just needed to metaphorically turn my head and go, look at that. That's where you can put your energy towards. And you can definitely learn. It was my teachers and later on acting coaches really telling me you can do more than you can try to audition for more than one part, which definitely was sound advice later on. Is because of my one-track mind, it took a while for it to catch up with me.
You also said that you auditioned to make yourself better, just kind of piggybacking off what you said, that you were doing more auditions because you wanted to improve your craft.
Yes, I wanted to get better at trying to, because one thing in auditions you go across, they give you, they do have requirements, they do have sets for you, assignments for you to go. We need you to prepare like a monologue that's 1 minute or 2 minutes long. So I went to auditions to really get myself better into that mindset to where, how can I get myself playing this character out? How can I get, even if I can't get the role of this character, how can I get myself across to this casting director to say, you can cast me in this production? Even if I'm just going to be a silent part, I am someone you should put in this show or in this movie or in this commercial, you know? It's something I'm still having a grasp on trying to work through. But now that I really understand that it's not about the character, it's about you when you audition, it makes it that much easier. Because one thing with theater, you can audition and be great, but then you still have to do rehearsal. So directors can go, I can shape him into this part. The same with doing shoots. I mean, well, doing something on film is completely different because you need to try to do both, where get yourself out there, but still have this character in mind. So directors don't have to try to hold your hand throughout the entire process. That's one of the reasons why I was so into theater, because the mental conditioning that it took to get myself down. So when I did want to make that transition to start shooting for film, either it was just for commercials or for small parts in TV shows, I already have that mindset and that mental like conditioning down to where directors don't need to worry about holding my edge. Just throw out, okay, I like this, but I need you to bring it down to a 5. Okay, perfect. You know, like it just takes just a little bit of advice or just a little bit of direction for me to get to where I need to go. Especially if it came to playing a part. Oh, you want me to tone it down a little bit so I don't overcrowd the actor? Great, I can do that. But still try to, instead of using my voice, try to use my body to come across. That's one of the things I liked with the auditioning process.
You said, and I quote, it's like mental torture to practice lines over and over again.
And it still is. It still is. Even when I'm doing something fun for Fantastic Film Trivia or anything in the trivia leagues, when they ask me, okay, we want you to do a promo, even though most of the time I don't have anything prepared, just the mental torture I'm going through in my head to like, am I coming off as an asshole? Am I coming off too aggressive? Like just those side voices to where some of the stuff, the habits I picked up through practicing auditions to go, all right, bring it down a little bit, man. You're a little too much. Wait, you're not, especially when I'm right here on camera, I'm literally just seeing myself back and forth. So where, oh wait, I need to move my head a little bit so I'm more centered, you know, all that stuff rushing back into me to where I just go, I need a moment to breathe. Oh wait, I got 10 seconds left. Get everything I need out, crossboy. All right, now I can breathe.
I love it. So you're kind of always in that performance kind of mindset.
Yeah, and it is mental torture, but it's more of a torture to where it's not really hurting you unless you're allowing it to.
So let's make Rob Fishbeck happy for 47 seconds. What was it like to play, you know, like the different phases of Ryan Payne last season?
I will say it really was fun to do because mainly because at that time, not at that time, I think since around like around mid 2019, I stopped auditioning, stopped doing acting for a while. So the closest I ever did with. So when this whole thing talking with Rob, Lego, you and Matt about pitching these different storylines, or at least this idea of how, you know, to put out some good content for the channel and for Fantastic Film Trivia, I thought, you know what, how about it be just fun to where my loss just makes it look like I am losing my mind, or I want to build off on the whole thing to where like the Marvel variants, you know, like really show different aspects of my personality. And I do give Lego the credit for the whole idea of wanting to bounce it more like Split. And I love the fact that you ran along with it too, to where you're more going into the idea like there's no other Ryans, it's just him. So it did add a lot more layers to the performance, even if I'm just being so like laid back like this. I could just be sit back in a chair and just every now and then I'm just talking like this, you know. Nothing matters. You can put me in these many trivia matches all you want, man. It just doesn't matter, because in the end, I'm just coming back. Like, you think you're getting rid of me that easily? Sure, I'll be gone, but another Ryan's gonna come back. Who knows? Maybe he's a little too much for you. Maybe he's just the amount of right. This ain't no Goldilocks and the Three Bears kind of crap. I'm just saying, be happy with the Ryan that's in front of you, because the next one's gonna drive you crazy. You know, in that kind of sense.
So to kind of stay here just a little bit, to kind of tie, you know, your two things, loves together. We talked a lot about Shakespeare during your pre-interview, and you like the ensemble. Is this your Shakespearean, like your Shakespeare experience in the film Trivia League? And you know what I mean, in terms of different roles and different parts in it?
Honestly, it is actually. That's kind of one of the fun things I liked about doing trivia, because even though it's mainly just answering movie trivia questions, whenever I get to hang out with people and we get to do like character work, or just even then, if it's just for trivia, there's still the whole aspect to where you need to be a supporting role or taking the lead in something. Because I know in Fantastic Film Trivia, one of the things I did step up a little bit to, you know, like lend the hand to help write questions, or, you know, just be a host, like try to be that try to multitask to where no one needs to worry. You don't need to worry about, oh, this person's not available at that time. We're gonna need somebody. Like, hey, if you don't got anybody at the time to write a question or test something for you, just reach out to me. I'm not doing anything for 4 to 5 hours, so if you need me to run through a whole document, I am here. And even
I love it. You said that learning, and again, I was a literature major when I was an undergraduate. You know, English communications. My concentration was literature. Took a whole Shakespeare class. We talked a lot about Shakespeare in the pre-interview. So learning Shakespeare was a lot of work. Do you feel like, and here's trivia and trivia topics and knowledge from film, is it the same kind of daunting work where you have to be narrow-minded?
It's gotten to that point. It has.
Okay.
I mean, as much as I love to do trivia, watching movies, you know, learning new facts about stuff, it does get very daunting, because when you're trying to go over something with a fine-tooth comb, it does make it hard at times to really appreciate a film. Or even at the time, I had no problem. I was just like, if I want to watch a movie, I'll just put a movie on. I don't care if it's an Academy Award winning film, it's a rom-com, it's a drama, or actually, I did avoid horror films. But even then, if there was just a movie that was on, you know what? I'll give it an opportunity to watch it. Now, by going over films with a fine-tooth comb, I won't say it's made me cynical, but it's unfortunately developed an unhealthy perspective, like an unhealthy taste of movies. Not like to where I enjoy the good bad movies, or I'll only watch films that's just terrible or with crappy plots. It's kind of like I'm honestly judging the film before I get a chance to watch it, and I don't want that mindset.
So I know you're currently in school, and
not right now. I'm not. No. I am working on just wanting to wrap up and finish, but now that you know, with the whole, now that everything from quarantine is being less daunting, I think I can actually finally have an opening to I can go finally finish up with school, maybe move on forward. It's just I think at the time I've missed the window, but I'm still gonna at least, you know, go, reach out to my old school and see if there's any chance I can, finish up. That way, there's that. I think so. It's just more of, I no longer have to have that little chip, that little I don't know what it's called, but it's one of the things I'm not away from school anymore. My brain tends to just wander off. No, it's like that whole that unfinished business. Yeah, it's yeah. Because as much as a part of me has been kind of dissatisfied with my path at school, it's still more of like, you know what, I will finish what I start. I'm not gonna just go and be like, yeah, I tried school, it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't for me. And even if it wasn't, I'm still not gonna, like, I did spend almost my entire life with it. I don't want to leave it at the not anticlimactic, but just more of a, it didn't work. Let's just move on. I want to have a complete decision made. If I don't want to go back, then I don't want to go back. I'll finish. I'll pay off any student loans I've done. But if I do want to finish up, then I'll finish up. I'll have a nice degree. If it doesn't help me with jobs, that's all good. I at least went there. I learned some skills, learned what I can apply them towards.
So, and this is, we're jumping back and forth a little bit, but we're going to eventually get back to the trivia.
Well, actually, I do want to ask you something, because you did say that you did have a literary major, right?
Yes.
I mean, I understood, because right now with me, one major I had was theater major, and there was a lot of skills I found from it that whenever I went to job interviews, I can always tell them, oh, here's what I learned from theater that I can apply to this job. You ever had issues? You ever had situations like that with literature where someone asks you, what can you do with literature that you can apply to, I don't know, working at a bank, or going to a business, or maybe just working a quick seasonal job,
Ooh, that's actually a very good question, sir. So I will break it. When I was graduating, because my undergraduate degree, I had a double major. I was history, and I was English communications with a concentration in literature. But obviously, I like to write poetry and all that stuff. But I didn't want to major concentrate in poetry because I felt like I want to have more of expanse knowledge.
Yeah.
So with literary critic, I was coming to figuring out what I want to do when I grow up, finishing college. I finished, and I was going to go into African American studies. But what happened was the same thing that being a history major. Literature, if you don't want to be a professor, if you don't want to work in a museum, what do you do with that? So when I first graduated, then I went into counseling because, I like listening and, providing insight. So full circle, to answer your question, I find that history and English and literature provide a scope of people to look at. So when I'm counseling somebody, I can always give them a reference, a movie or something like that, so that they can look at it and say, okay, I can look at this picture. I can read this, the Captain Lego is making me read Notes from the Underground. So just starting to read it again, and the cynicism in it, it's like, oh, I'm already percolating ideas for, okay, I can refer this person to the Metamorphosis. I can refer this person to Notes from the Underground. And I look at different things, and it's just like, oh, wow. Then when I was finishing school, I didn't see it. Now, looking back, I can say, oh, I have so much more of an understanding of things that I can actually tie it in.
Yeah. And that is kind of, I do like that, because that was one thing I was always learning from other majors at the school. Like I would talk to a bio major, or someone who's doing chemistry, or someone who is doing film. Like, someone once said to me, like, you're doing theater, and even though I'm not gonna hold that against you, but at the same time, there's not much. Like they would tell me, you don't get a long career in theater. It's a very short field, because theater is always responding, and it's always reacting. And then I had no response to this person when they said, what can you honestly tell someone in a job interview if they see your theater, if you see you have a bachelor's or an associate's degree in theater, where can you apply that to? And unfortunately, I could never talk to this person again to answer them, but I do remember saying to other people who were taking theater classes, when you do a theater class, even if you're doing performance stuff, what you're learning is that you're learning to be open in front of people. You're learning to put down your walls, but at the same time be focused on the task at hand. And also, yeah, with you are reacting. You're learning how to react, either if it's through a bad performance or through criticism, or if you're putting together a play yourself, you have to be flexible in order to handle different problems, multitask in a way, which was something I learned through theater. Theater actually opened me up to the possibilities of multitasking. Whether if it's either you're going to be an actor or if you're working on a crew set, you have to be flexible. You need to be available. You have to put yourself out there. So if I ever went to a business like a call center and is asking me, well, how's theater going to help you with answering phone calls? Well, one, to make me a good listener, I'm always going to be in a different mind. I'm going to be in a good mindset to listen to, to be open to people complaining. I'm not going to, and also with theater, you develop endless patience, especially when you're rehearsing processes or when you're doing shows for weekends or nights, especially with setting up construction sets or tearing stuff down. You learn it's hands-on, but also at the same time you're learning to be mentally like a rock. Honestly, you're learning to be completely unfazed by whatever's thrown at you. So I would tell people at jobs like, look, because of my background in theater and performing aspects of theater, I've learned to be mentally sound. Being able to handle myself under pressure. If things ever get crazy, if things start to fall apart, I'm able to at least be able to do two things. Know what's happening around me, and what can I do to help solve the problem. Pretty much find creative solutions to an issue.
So I will just say, kind of piggyback on what you were saying. I did consider getting my FPA, Fine and Performing Arts degree for creative writing as a master's. Then I was like, well, I don't think I want to do that, because I find with some creative arts that the more you learn, the more of an edge you lose, and you become more formulaic. So you learn what people before you and all that stuff. And I think your individuality can sometimes trickle away. Oh, you muted yourself.
Sorry, I had like a weird echo on my end for a second. I don't know if it turns out my mic got a little bit disconnected, so it was switching audios.
Right.
But I did hear what you were saying, and you are right. It can make you formulaic. That's why when I was learning theater, I wanted to learn every aspect of trying to be more open towards theater instead of just performing aspects. I learned of stage managing. I took classes on marketing. I even tried to I took one class on script analysis. I mean, some of that stuff was involved in my major though, but there was some I pushed even further down onto, like with marketing. Like technically it was optional, but I chose to take that because with something like marketing, I needed to understand exactly what means can I use of creativity and how to get something out to grab people's attention. And with script analysis, learning how to digest, how to dissect either the reading material that's in front of me to understand the point.
So that's an excellent transition. You did start to move more into like the film critique and all that stuff. And then you said that you were more drawn to the film's story. And you were starting to find that, reenacting the movie scenes and all that stuff, you were more drawn to the film story and what was going on in the film.
That is true, 100%. That is something I do give credit to theater for, and also through trivia as well. I stopped focusing so much on the visual aspects that's in front of me with the film. I mean, because I'm simple. I'm very simple when it comes to my film taste, because I grew up around action films, around comedies, to where the spectacle was enough for me. But now I'm older. I do need more than just the spectacle. I need at least something that's going to want me invested, especially with films, because films are not meant to be watched one time. They're meant to be watched again. So I need to know exactly what part of the story that's going to make me want to watch it again, even if I watch it in 70 to 80 times. I need to know if it's still that entertaining that I won't get bored with it. So one of the reasons why I'm always pushing back against people when they talk about like comic book films, like, oh, we're starting to get fatigued for this stuff. If you look at film history, we are still doing films on war movies, biopics. Westerns Westerns aren't around them a lot, but from the early start of Hollywood to the 70s and 80s, Westerns dominated film history, and even cop shows like mystery films, murder mysteries, dramas, like those have been around for years, but we're not fatigued by that stuff. Sure, we'll put them aside for a while, but they always come back later on.
Interesting.
So it's like learning the ebb and flows.
That's exactly what it is. We talked about how you kind of got into the actual writing and the film story and what was going on. You also said that, through theater and through your film study, that your love of movies expanded. That you said I used to like, the spectacle. Then you started to love the movies. What do you love the most about movies?
Something I didn't notice a lot much. Of course, I didn't pay a lot of attention to was cinematography, and also like the technical aspects, like cinematography, sound, the score, even visual, like not just the exploding aspects of it, but the even more tiny, minuscule details. I think one example that works, best example actually, the most recent Dune film that came out from Denis Villeneuve. That film does a great job with sound, with score, and visuals, to where it looks, even though it's completely fictional on screen, you can honestly tell, you can almost believe that, yes, Matt, even costumes as well. Because that's one thing I appreciate through theater, the resources used to create costumes. That is a strenuous task of its own. But I will say that even with movies, it's even bigger, because knowing what the limited resources you have in front of you, how you're going to make something look good and continue to still be good throughout weeks and months of shooting. That's why with Dune, I love when it comes with the score, it doesn't overcrowd, or it doesn't take over a scene. It highlights, it makes a certain scene better, especially when you are following the story aspect and performance from the actors. So when the score does pop in, you feel that this is an emotional moment happening for the character on screen. It's not there to just drown out a scene like in most films.
So, do you think you're more like kind of drawn to the technical stuff now because scaled down in the theater, and it's almost like, ooh, we get to go to locations, we get to have different scenes, but theater is kind of like Shakespeare, where you're just knocking the scenes out, and you still got the dead bodies from the scene before, and blah 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 blah.
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
Well, one, I do have more respect for the technical aspects behind the scenes for theater and for film. I will always give a lot of respect for those who dedicate themselves for that passion to be editors or to be on-set hand assistants. Because they're not easy jobs. Because despite being a performer, at a certain point, when a scene's over, you're kind of done, and you're waiting until you come back on screen or on stage. For a crew, the job is never over until until they put out the last either on theater. Like someone who handles lights, their job is not over until they remove every filter from one of the lighting fixtures, because when it comes to color, when it comes to the filming fixtures, the film is very thin and it's easily flammable if they get too close to light. And the lights on theaters, especially the lights in theaters, they can get very, very hot. So everything is delicate in that situation, especially the lights themselves. They are very heavy to move back and forth. And so, especially seeing how in studios, like I mean, I used to help with short films with light fixtures and with being a boom mic operator. So I know the equipment is very expensive and it's very delicate. Like almost anything can ruin it or break it. So it takes a lot of strength mentally and physically to do something like that.
So, we're gonna wrap up the trivia stuff in a few minutes because I know you want to talk about wrestling.
Yeah.
And we have some movie, some lists that we talked about in the pre-interview. So let me ask you, how did you get into this love of trivia, kind of like this physical sport to mental sport transition?
That is honestly, I mean, I did tell you earlier on it did come from like these love of these like trivia games, but those were always seen as hobbies. They were never something I took seriously until I came across, like most people I knew, we came across the movie Trivia Schmodown. It was, there were times where I was invited to do bar trivia or I would watch some bar trivia happen, and it was always fun to do that. But something like the Schmodown, to where it did combine my two loves, my two constants, wrestling. So it made that even more exciting for me because I'm seeing something that I would get from wrestling and something I would get from your normal bar trivia or just something you do casually hanging out with friends. It was just like a good cocktail that was combining of both of the two.
Ooh.
And it's something I can't get enough of. Even if I watch the worst trivia match I've seen, I always like to go back on it and go, there's something there. So when I see a certain player play trivia again, I go, they are so much better. Like it's literally like almost watching a movie, like a character arc happen.
So, when we were talking in the pre-interview, your trivia style is your trivia style more, and we said Shamar more, kind of like just blaze in, wing it, go in, or is it more like Spencer Reed, which is meticulous, calculating, memorization, over like I know the facts. Which one would you say is, or do you have your own person that you would use as an example of you?
Well, it's a bit of both, really. Most of the time, I am winging it when it comes with my trivia facts, especially on films. Because when it comes to films I don't know or genres I've not seen, I am studying them. I'm not studying them back and forth to where I understand the whole plot, but I am looking at these certain aspects. Like this actor was in it. Let's say I'm looking at a film with Katharine Hepburn in it. Okay, she's been in this film with Spencer Tracy, and then I start looking at her filmography. Wait, she and Spencer Tracy have been in about 8, maybe 7 films together, and then it continues going on, and it builds into a rabbit hole to where it's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You start realizing some of these actors have collaborated with each other on other projects, or they've worked with a certain director they've liked for other projects alone. And even then, sometimes there'll be actors they'll be on movies to where they happen to share the same composer. So it does get to that meticulous aspects to where I start writing down the similarities of the connections. So whenever something does pop up, either from a question, I'm going, oh, wait a minute, this actor was in this film, and I know it because I took notes, and then I remember that they were on with this composer, so I'll yell out this character, and then I'll either get it right or I'll get it wrong. Like I'm really breaking something down in my brain from all the stuff I've written down, because I don't want that stuff to go to waste. I mean, I've gone through 5 notebooks of notes, so I don't leave that stuff to be just more like, okay, I wrote it down, I'll push it away somewhere where I'll come back to later. Like, no, I'm going to bring that back, get myself a divider, put it in a notepad, so if I need to refresh myself, what is it that I wrote? And I'll even write on my notes in the form of questions. That way, I'm giving myself a quick trivia quiz.
Interesting. Who was your toughest opponent so far?
Oh, that's really difficult. I've come across some good opponents. I will say one, of course, the best example in Fantastic Film Trivia my toughest opponent was definitely Cena from that MCU match.
Cheated. Mm-hmm.
No, it was just a situation. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that to her or to the writer.
No, I do. I'm just joking.
I know. That match was just like a good. We were on par with each other, and it was just that. Oh wait, you're doing the TV shows too? You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
This was just more of they didn't give. It's like the fine print. Like, oh, here's the contract, but then there's the fine print you didn't tell me about.
Right.
That was actually the inspiration that made me do the whole like split personality thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
But then, there is two other people. In this one trivia league, there's this. I got to know him very well. I've actually met him in person a few times. His name is Antonio. We played each other in different matchups in regular movie trivia involving geek. And he's had me on we played I think 3 or 4 matches against each other, and he's had the advantage on me every time. Wait, what was that?
It's not Ryan's opinion, Robert. It's Joker's opinion. It was a joke. Ryan just gave her a lot of credit. So do you want to do wrestling first, or do you want to do the movie list first? I'll let you pick.
I think we'll close out with the movie list. We'll do wrestling.
I knew you were gonna say that. Okay, sir. So why wrestling? Like, how do you get into wrestling?
My path to wrestling honestly wasn't as, I mean, I won't say it's traditional, but it was kind of odd for me at the time because when I got into wrestling, I never came across a wrestling program. It was just more of through an outside source, which was video games.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it kind of was, how it started. I mean, my brothers and I, we got like a video game for our N64, and it was wrestling. And we just loved the idea of just, in a way, just being these brawling characters, and while seeing like these, even though it wasn't like it was not voice or anything, it was just more body movements. So, but even then, we did like the artistic and creative style of these characters that got us interested to be like, we want to watch a wrestling program. And we finally come across one, and man, we were just loving it. Like seeing the moves that we would do in video games being done on television really was like, it blew our minds, because next, compared to playing sports or playing either in video games or in our backyard or on the field, there was always a shallow disconnect, because in sports, of course, when we played in video games, either baseball, we want to hit a home run every time. But in reality, you never really do that, no matter how hard we train to. And not saying it's different with wrestling too, because I practiced doing a power bomb before, and it takes a lot of strength, coordination to do, and it's not just something you can easily do. It's not. The person is resisting against you. If you're roughhousing and you want to do something like a wrestling move, the person's going to fight back. They're not going to let you do it.
No, go ahead. Do a tombstone on me. Go ahead. Do a pile driver. That's okay.
Yeah. Do an elbow drop. I won't move across. But I just like the aspect that it was, in a way, a live performance mixed with, in a way, kind of like the video game, like playing video games. It literally felt like video games on the television screen. But then, of course, getting to see them actually do cut promos, really put to work on the mic, good or bad. It was just like, here's these characters. I don't like this guy. I don't like seeing Hogan always going like winning against Sting, and then all of a sudden Sting gets the upper hand on one night. I'm like, yes, that emotional satisfaction I got from that stuff. And it carried with me. There was a time where I did stop watching wrestling because I was unhappy with it. But it was actually during the midst of my junior year when I was transitioning from community college to a state college. I stopped watching wrestling for at least a year and a half. Then it came back. Someone shared a link with me, and I saw the video of the promo I'm just going, wow, this is so good. And then I started going back on wrestling, and then once again, I was back on that train. I was back on that drug. I'm like wrestling once again, and I haven't stopped.
So, what do you say to people that say wrestling's fake?
Whenever they say that, I ask them, "What's your favorite TV show?" And if they say, "Oh, I love Law and Order," you think Law and Order is real? Then they say, well, the cases are real, yeah, but the people are fake. Or if they ever say they love a reality show, I'm going, wrestling is just as real as a reality show. Reality show is scripted as well because, no offense, you watch something like The Bachelor or Survivor or Joe Millionaire or Love Island or any other dating reality show, 8 out of 10 times those couples aren't staying together once the cameras are off. At least in wrestling, you do understand it's scripted and it's not completely real, but even then, the stunts that's being done on screen, the emotions that they're portraying is real. Sure, it's scripted to where you see in a promo somebody who they don't really hate a certain person on screen, but hell, it doesn't change the fact that you're still going to be entertained. So whenever someone says it's fake, I say it's more real than any cop drama, any medical drama, any corporate drama, any reality show, any cartoon, any sport you actually watch. So,
I think all sports are scripted by the league that oversees it to an extent.
Yeah.
You know, you set up divisions, you set up this, you want it to be competitive, you want balance. Like, I'll use the NBA because I'm more into basketball than I know about some other sports, except for maybe football, but they make the rules so that they score more. Why do you want them to score more? Because people would rather see a 400-point basketball game than a 160-point basketball game.
Yeah.
You don't want to see LeBron foul out. You don't want to see KD foul out. You don't want to see these. You want to see them go and do what they do. And it's the same thing. You want to go see, Brock Lesnar or JYD or these people. You want to go watch them perform.
Exactly. And even if you can't see them on that certain night, you see them live, you can always tune into television or now with it on stream and now with on YouTube or anything or Fight TV, you can still watch them perform. I mean, that's one thing with wrestling. There is a variety out there for everyone. You like where it's just cut and dry to where you know who's going to win. Well, great. You got the WWF or WWE. Yeah, if you want something that's more athletic, but you still or even if you know the end, but you still love the journey, you got AEW now. You want something that's more hardcore to where you see people getting cut open or putting through flaming tables or being hit across the head with light strobes. There's GCW. Or if you want something, GCW is a different kind of thing to where they have a wrestler who actually likes to use a pizza cutter on people. So I'm just saying, there's a different taste out there. Yeah.
Wow. I respect that.
Yeah. But even then, it's all still scripted down to where even when that stunt happens, it is still done within the safest environment because these wrestlers are professionals. They didn't dedicate their entire lives to something just so they can do a short stunt. If they're going to go 100%, they're going to go 100%.
And you're talking about real athletes because a lot of these people are transitioning from Division I sports, professional sports.
Some of them were Olympic athletes going into wrestling.
Yeah.
One athlete that's well known, one of my favorite athletes from the WWE, Kurt Angle, he was an Olympic athlete in the Summer Games in '96. And even one athlete, Mark Henry, he was a bodybuilding, a weightlifter. But he was in an Olympic team. And seeing athletes like that transition to wrestling, whenever someone says it's fake, you're going to tell me these Olympic athletes who spent years just to qualify for an event that happens every 4 years and maybe not even take home a medal, you're going to tell them doing something like this is ridiculous? Or even now with MMA being a big thing. You mentioned Brock Lesnar. He has done MMA, and he's still being involved in wrestling. Ronda Rousey, who was at the time one of the dominant women in MMA, she's a part of wrestling. And so there is no fake I mean, if you want to believe it's fake, go ahead. But I'm just saying, if you're going to use that oversimplification, then you're clearly not seeing why wrestling is drawing more money than most. Well, maybe not more money than sports, but it's drawing big audiences out
Oh
there
yeah.
because they will get the audience if they're going to shove it down your throats, or you see something spectacular that you just can't turn away from. Because as much as you want to love football, baseball, or basketball, every now and then there's just going to be a moment to where you're simply just watching people go back and forth on something.
Yep.
But with wrestling, there's going to be a spot that's going to get your attention. So every minute or so, you're going to be excited for something.
I love it. That's right. Talk your shit, brother. All right. Let's do a little crossover between the wrestlers that act. Cena versus The Rock versus Batista. Where are you? Where do you stand? What you look at them?
Woo, man. That is a tough one because they're all so good. Obviously, it was the early dominant one for me. I love watching him in everything that he's a part of. I'm definitely looking forward to him being Black Adam coming out this year.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena, he's not as versatile as The Rock, but he is that guy. When you give him something, he is 100%. Because like The Rock, he tried to do the action star route, didn't work. But when he started doing comedies, that is where he was shining so much more. So I think with John, it's really hard, but I will give the edge to The Rock because he's been around a lot longer.
Ooh.
But Batista, though, he's that wrestler who I can actually see being nominated for Oscars over those two. Because the projects he's choosing to do. I never thought I'd see someone like Batista in a Blade Runner film, but guess what? That film got Oscar nominated. He was in it.
Have you been watching Peacemaker at all?
I have. I haven't watched the latest episode, but
Okay.
I have been watching the show, and it is entertaining. Sometimes it feels very straightforward, but it is still hilarious to watch.
Right. I'm 100% impressed with the range he's showing. And Batista too. Like, The Rock has had more time to hone his craft, but the Batista and Cena are showing that they actually, could he get nominated for an Oscar? Yeah. But they're showing that they're growing and expanding, and I think that's the most important part of the craft.
That is true, honestly, and it's something I do appreciate about that because they've even admitted I've read articles, I've seen interviews to where they go. They know they're not going to be like Oscar worthy material, but that doesn't stop them from trying. Especially someone like Batista. I mean, The Rock, he knows what films he wants to do or he wants to produce, so that's his avenue. Cena, in a way, he's not there, but if he sees something he likes, then he's gonna go like something like Peacemaker. I mean, think
up his alley, totally.
Yeah, 100% up his alley, and it's also giving, like you said, it's allowing him to show ranges where him having a side character or having a supporting role won't allow him to. You'll see his range, but it's still very restrictive.
Yeah,
like Peacemaker, where he is the lead, you do get to see him an episode at a time show more flexibility and more emotional range.
Yes. And I like that he has material that's written for him as opposed to, auditioning for a role. This material is being written specifically for him because I think in the Suicide Squad, which hot take I'm not a huge fan of. I like it, but I like the OG Suicide Squad better because I like the squad better.
Yeah. It's funny. Those two films are very diverse amongst the audiences. Look, I did not like the first one that came out because it felt like a mess. I do like it a little bit. Huh?
It was a mess.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is a mess. I'm just saying that when I first saw it, it came off that way. Didn't understand exactly how big of a mess it was until of course, learning the behind the scenes stuff. And that's just one of the downsides of being involved in trivia, or at least being a big fan of movies. You start reading all this stuff and you go, man, it's taking all the fun of watching a film, knowing that a studio just won't keep their hands in their pockets. Just show up the money, Let someone else, and then have a middleman. That's it. You don't need to be too involved.
Let the artist be artists. Basically, let the artist be artists.
Most of the time, let the artist be artists, because I've seen them
unless
where the art gets a little too out of control. Where I'm like, someone could have reined you in a little bit.
Last wrestling question: your favorite wrestler?
Okay. The longest time it has been wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's still hard. It's still really hard to think of it, but you are right, Thrawn. Undertaker is definitely a great character. That is the character. That's actually, Undertaker represents one thing about wrestling that not many people understand or are having a hard time to grasp. Undertaker, the wrestler who was the character, he did something that he stayed as that character throughout his entire career. When he was in the ring, when he was outside the ring, he rarely did interviews as that character because his character was meant to be very mysterious, almost Undertaker started off as a bit of an almost an undead, almost like zombie in a way, but it evolved to where he was a cult leader, then to a badass biker, and then back into a supernatural figure. But the wrestler stayed true to that character because one thing in wrestling, there's the term kayfabe out there, and kayfabe is pretty much meant to be when you are this character, you are this character. In a way like putting on the mask. Once you're out there, you don't break character for any reason. You keep the kayfabe alive. Mm-hmm. But then once the whole show's over and the wrestlers leave, they do go out. They do, because that's one thing with the wrestling business. Whenever there was a story of two wrestlers in a huge feud against each other, the last thing they wanted was for people to see the two of them having a beer at a bar or at a restaurant because it breaks the illusion of they don't hate each other. And to draw back to the Undertaker, he knew 100% that he needed to stay as his character. So he barely interacted with anyone outside of whatever arena they were working at for the show. He would not break character, but he would loosen the reins a little bit when they were like in locker rooms or when they were at a very secluded, in a very closed off area. But it wasn't until he officially retired to where he was breaking away from that character. So for over 25 years, he had stayed as that character, not breaking for one thing. Like wrestlers can share stories of how they tried to make him laugh in the ring and he never broke. But that was a great example. But I will say currently, right now, I will say one of my favorite wrestlers is, seriously, I'm holding this flag right behind me, and that is CM Punk.
Oh, yeah, you always talk about him.
Yeah, not a lot, but I do bring up because his promo that he cut when he was part of WWE back in 2011 brought me back into wrestling because he touched on a few things that I was having an issue with wrestling, but also things that I wanted wrestling to be better. And that's one thing, and he's one of those wrestlers out there to where I believe that wrestling can be great because 5% of the time it just flat out sucks. But in those rare moments when it is good, it is so good. It makes you want to do the moment over and over again, like with films, like with something like The Suicide Squad. While not many people liked it, I do like to go back on that certain film and go, that moment is great. That moment was awesome. This character was fantastic. Idris Elba killed it. John Cena's fantastic.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, I loved her. Stuff like that. And then also another favorite wrestler of mine. Oh my God, I forgot. I've already forgot him. No, he'll come back. He may not come back to me. I'll probably remember him after the show.
Yeah, you mentioned Booker T and Goldberg.
Yes, Booker T. Booker T. That's another one of my favorite wrestlers. He was especially someone as African American like myself. He was definitely someone I gravitated towards. Someone who shows overwhelming charisma on screen, overflowing passion. Like, even if he messes up or does something, like he does great reactions, does great expressions to just make you gravitate towards him. Oh, Kofi Kingston. That's the other wrestler I thought of. Kofi Kingston.
I don't know him.
He's currently in the WWE. He started off It's funny. He started off when he first debuted. His character, he's from West Africa, but he was asked to be a Jamaican character. So for at least the first 5 years of his career, he had to sport a Jamaican accent until finally they had him drop it. But he is a great athlete. He was someone who did amazing stunts and spots. Someone who I thought this could be the top guy. He could be the face of the company, but he was always being held back, or some reason was preventing him from getting the top card. And then a couple of years ago, before COVID, like around 2019, I believe, I was in a bar with fans watching WrestleMania 35. He was in one of the main events, challenging for the top prize, the World Heavyweight Championship. And while all of us in that bar believed he was going to win, but the one thing that WWE always likes to do, they like to swerve its fans. So I'm literally standing on the edge of, well, not the edge of my seat, but literally standing tiptoes every time there was a close fall. Every time there was a counter, I thought Kofi's not going to win. But when he finally won, myself, everyone in that bar lost our minds. It was a great moment because that was something that said to me, this is progress. This is where, wrestling, unfortunately, has had a lot of Caucasian men and women hold championships. Kofi Kingston represents something that finally this is opening the doors. You can get young. This is something that young Black women and Black men, boys and girls can look to and go, this was at a time when this company realized we need to start being more diverse and shaping our future. And it's such a big importance to me that we meet Joker. You and I, we both follow the World Girls, Roxy, Jarena, and Steph.
Yeah.
When they were putting their calendar together, I donated. So on their calendar, actually, it's right here. Let me grab it. I wanted them on their calendar for April, which was which is when he won the championship. Right here, it's immortalized on our calendar. April 7th, Kofi Kingston winning his championship.
Oh, nice.
Anniversary. That's how big and important it was for me. As much as I love supporting the World Girls on our YouTube channel, this was something I kind of honestly, it was kind of something I made at the last minute, because when I was going to throw it, I was going to do something, simple, like, have my birthday on the calendar, or maybe do something to where, do something where on this December, on this day, it's when the Mandalorian premiered. But I'm like, no, this was so culturally important to me because of my love of wrestling and not seeing many talented African-American men and women get their time in the sun, in the spotlight. This was that one glorious moment to where I go, that is where I believed anything can happen once again.
Bravo, sir. All right, let's have a little fun movie talk, since I know you have a cornucopia of lists in your mind. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie, it goes, well, I will just say straight up, it is Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. No, Return of the Jedi, because that was the one I rewatched the most as a kid, and now and then it's still fun to watch.
Top 3 favorite movies, sir.
Well, top 3, Empire's in there. The number 2 would be Blade. Because one of the rarest times where it was the time where I love Wesley Snipes the most. And then the third one, oh my God, I just had it. Oh no, there it is. The third one is actually Independence Day.
Yeah, I like it.
It's still, even though it's pure 90s fun, it is still consistent of what it is, and I love it.
All right, top 5 comic book movies.
Number 5, X-Men.
Oh, yeah, order too.
Yeah, the X-Men Days of Future Past. Number 4, The Dark Knight.
That's low, sir, but it's okay.
That mainly because the other top 3 and personally, they are much more stronger in my mind. Number 3, it is. Actually, you know what? That's going to be my number 2. My number 3 is actually going to be Spider-Man. Yeah, 2002 Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. Yeah, that one. Number 2 is Black Panther. Wakanda Forever. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And
Number one.
Number one is the Avenger. It's kind of honestly it's the one time where I'll say it's one movie. It's two. It's the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Let's see. Favorite hero.
I did say earlier on I was drawn toward the anti-heroes like Wolverine and Ghost Rider.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say there was a time where I was obsessed with the Green Arrow.
Really? Okay.
It was a reaction because of the TV show era at the time, but then also I do remember with the Justice League TV series, the character of Green Arrow was kind of used as a connective thread in Justice League. At least the second season, because he was there as the someone that Batman brought on to be like, we need someone to be our moral conscience because we're getting too big. Like, but he's still not my favorite hero. He was just someone I was obsessed with because I like the idea that looking at his history, he's almost in a way the same coin of Batman, not like the yin to his yang, but just more of they're still on the same side. They just have unfortunately two different ways of how to get things done. But my favorite hero, it does fall to I will go back to it. Yeah, Ghost Rider. I mean, it falls more into the philosophical sense of his character, because Ghost Rider is someone who seeks to punish wicked out there, and Ghost Rider does not judge. He just knows that if you've done bad deeds, he will punish you for it. And it does fall into the idea of this whole thing with Ghost Rider, how we can't escape judgment. We can't escape. It wides into our conscience. It reminds me that there is a morality out there. There's a moral law because everyone likes to go on. Oh, there's no consequences to your actions. You can do whatever you want. There's no such thing as morality. That's easy for those who are in certain positions of power or those who have constantly escaped consequences. But what I like about Ghost Rider is it doesn't matter when or how or why your actions you will face consequences. You will face that. The time of judgment will come to you, and not in a religious sense, just more of in a sense of the universe, because karma, the universe, morality, it's going to catch up to you sooner or later, to where you realize one day either you've escaped it your whole life, you're going to find yourself one day alone, either dying on a bed or old, right, with so many regrets to where they constantly weigh you down. To sooner or later, you're going to see that somebody like Ghost Rider, or one thing I like about Ghost Rider is he does instantly punish them. He purges your soul of all the hate inside you to where it leaves you empty and nothing, which is why I like not like it, but it does ring true that whatever misdeeds you've done, something you've done in your life, it's weighing on you. It's not something you can easily shake, even though you think, even you can justify in your mind, like, I had to do this because, I was wronged or I needed to do that to survive. The fact that you're constantly trying to justify actions in your mind tells me that deep down in your gut, in your soul, that is wrong. You're trying to make you're easily telling the biggest lie to yourself. Before you can lie to anybody, you have to lie to yourself. And it's one thing that I like about Ghost Rider is that, it's an unstoppable force. It is incorruptible to where you can't lie to it. You can't bribe it. I mean, sure, you can do the whole thing of making a deal, but in the end, you still have to pay honor deal. The devil comes due. The devil's coming to collect. Yes, exactly. No good deed goes unpunished, and no bad deed is overlooked or buried.
Favorite actor.
I really don't think I have one, to be honest. For the longest time, it was Will Smith because I grew up with him watching Fresh Prince. with his blockbuster career.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I really don't have a solid actor, someone who I will immediately go to theaters and watch.
Oh, really?
No, I really don't. I'm not gonna say it's kind of a bummer. It's just more of, I guess maybe the fact I don't have a favorite actor kind of does make it opens the possibility of watching a film, because there are times where I will be blown away by an actor performance to where I will go back to try to watch as many movies they're in that's available to me.
Okay. All right, sir. Two questions. Well, 3 questions. Ooh, 3 questions left. Well, maybe 4. Favorite Joker.
Oh.
And then favorite live action Joker.
Okay. Live action. Okay. You took Mark Hamill away from me.
No, I'm saying favorite Joker, and then the second one is favorite live action Joker.
Okay. Well, obviously, the favorite Joker is Mark Hamill.
Okay.
Because I keep saying that. Mark Hamill is my favorite because it is still a character. His performance still carries on to this day, to where everyone still wants to see him perform as that character. You go to conventions or something that he's a part of, there's always that part of you that wants you to go do the Joker laugh, or just do the voice again. And it's always like it's always great to rewatch the old Batman the Animated Series show and just see the Joker. While even though it's a children's show, but still show that there is still like a character of this much menace out there.
Agent of Chaos.
Yes.
Favorite live action Joker.
Live action Joker. It is a tie, honestly, between.
Blasphemy. Go ahead. I'm messing with you.
It's a tie between Ledger and Nicholson. I would say it's a 3-way tie because but I've not watched a lot of the Adam West show to understand Cesar Romero's Joker.
He was silly.
He was silly for the purpose of the show.
Yeah.
But even then, the fact that this was a Latino actor playing the Joker, I mean, not the historical significance of it, but the fact that he made the character feel so jokey and so lighthearted, the fact that he's doing these crimes, I don't know. He plays more like the Silver Age Joker, honestly. But I will say the reason why with Nicholson and Ledger is because these two actors went to embody these characters. I won't say they overshadowed the Batman film, but they are the main highlights to make you want to go back and rewatch it.
So you said Nicholson, and if you could only watch one, Dark Knight, or what was 89? Was that the one with Nicholson?
89 Batman, yeah.
If you only watch one again, and that's it, which one would you pick?
I'd have to rewatch. I will pick 89 Batman.
Matt, kick him out. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Interesting. Who would you want to play the next Joker in the Battinson universe? Who would you want to see play Joker?
Well, one thing's for sure, it's not Willem Dafoe, no matter how many people want it to be. I wouldn't pick Joaquin Phoenix because technically that's not Joker. That's just a one-off story. I kind of want the Joker to be someone who's not too big that's going to eclipse the role. So going down to it, I think for the Joker, actually, I mean, he kind of embodies him already in the Netflix TV show You, but I would actually pick Penn Badgley.
Oh, is that Joe?
Yeah, Joe from You.
Nice. I didn't know.
I mean, he's not too big, but he already plays the psychopathic character. So to see him play that, it would be very interesting.
Okay, we're rounding it out. Who would you want to play against and get a perfect score against them in a trivia match?
Perfect score. I haven't done that before. I think I have done that before in a geek match against he's actually someone I study with, or at least I'm part of study and I'm part of a group with. His name is Mark Kamire. I played him in a geek match. We both went completely perfect against each other. It wasn't like we batted 1,000. We did check down a bit, but we pushed each other to our limits. Like, it's available on Full Metal Trivia. You just type in Full Metal Trivia, hint my name, you'll find my match against Mark Kamar. We both were just going back and forth against each other.
What?
Oh, there's also another geek match I did play against Joe Farrelly. It's in it's on a YouTube channel called Nerd Entertainment Network. It was once again a geek match, and we both went toe for toe against each other. The second time we played against each other, we went into overtime. So,
oh wow,
we went to sudden death. So, but I will say, if there is somebody, if let's say in the off chances I get to play in the Schmodown, the person I would want to go in a perfect game against, or at least route for pound, would actually be. I don't know if he's going to watch this, but I will say Kevin Smets or Amaru Moses.
Oh, okay. I know Smets. I've heard the other one. I don't know him though.
I know Amaru. I used to train with him.
Okay.
When he was part of the fan leagues, I still talk with him, like when he had in our group chats. Yeah, he's definitely someone I've never gotten a chance to go one-on-one against.
Oh, okay. So there's normally my last question is normally, if you could be any superhero or supervillain who would you be and why?
For the hero side, I'd actually like to be the Silver Surfer.
Oh, I don't think I've gotten Silver Surfer. Okay.
Well, mainly because of his, not just being able to hold the power cosmic, but be able to really soar the galaxy, travel across the galaxy, get to see different worlds, different planets, get to understand, or at least observe from having this handle of power, but also having this wide knowledge and wisdom of the universe. I guess, yeah, having like many cosmic adventures. I guess with the Silver Surfer, I mean, unfortunately, I've not read a lot about the character. I know a lot about the character. I just haven't read a lot of his stories. But just Silver Surfer alone, I feel like there's such a great opening avenue to explore the universe.
Very good, sir. Very good.
And the villain.
Yes.
I'm actually going to go on the DC route, and I would actually pick Deathstroke.
Deathstroke. Why would you want to be Deathstroke? That's interesting.
Well, because I mean, yeah, he's not like a top tier villain. I mean, he's more in the mid level, but because he is a mercenary and he's one of the deadliest out there, the fact to where almost every villain almost considers hiring this guy as somebody as part of their job. I mean, you get someone like Deathstroke who's so proficient at killing, you can see him going up against so many other different heroes. Honestly, I think the versatility and the opportunity to have someone like Wonder Woman or Batman, or have him show up to go up against even mid-level heroes. Like Deathstroke, once again, like the storytelling opportunities is out there. Like, as much as I love the big dramatic villains like Doom or Lex Luthor or Gorilla Grodd, I kind of like some of the middle tier heroes and villains, because you get to spread them out, or you get to really have them show up in other adventures. They don't always have to have their own run, but you can always put them as part of a different team, so you get to see them how they balance out with other heroes. I like the versatility of it. It's one of the things of comic books I like, and hopefully what I get to see with comic book movies, though. We don't always need to get a standalone film. We can just get a lot more team-up movies and team-up TV shows, so we can start seeing more of these characters.
Okay, last question. Hannibal Joe from You,
Oh God.
or Dexter? Or
No. I
or
get. No, I
Reddington, or Raymond Reddington. I add him in there. I always forgot.
Reddington. Pretty much, which one of those four? Honestly, I think amongst all four of them, Reddington, because he's part of a criminal empire, and he is the empire compared to somebody like Hannibal, where he's. I do love the sinister undertones of Hannibal, to where he is someone who wants to heal people, but it's for his own sinister agenda. And him being a forensic psychologist, to where he gets to work alongside cops, but at the same time is feasting on. He's really under the wire. And with Dexter as well, someone who was, through tragedy, was shaped into a psychopath, but has this moral code is great. And then Joe is kind of the lesser, not like bad guy or so, but just more of he's literally the lesser of two evils. But still, he is unfortunately like in a way like Hannibal. He does have sinister undertones, to where you think, oh, he's obsessing over one person, that's fine, but nope, he will completely obsess to where he'll remove any obstacle he thinks is causing somebody harm, even if it's through a misunderstanding. So it's I guess with Reddington, it's much easier, because Reddington, he knows what he wants. There's something he's after, and he at the same time has no problem working with, he understands that there are psychopaths and there's people out there that need to be who need removed, taken down.
Yeah.
So with Reddington, and at the same time, being a criminal mastermind or having a criminal empire, he's got vast resources at his hands, always being one step ahead of the cops, even though the cops think we have him contained, we can handle him. No, he's there because he wants to be.
All right, Mr. Payne. Thank you for your time. I'm going to ask you just to hang out for a couple of minutes after the show, sir.
Sure, no problem.
Excellent. So, kind of wrapping up some stuff. Discourse is on 221. We're talking about Self-Talk Part 2. We're going to be talking about love in discourse. Logophile, when I don't know if Jimmy's still there, but me and the captain are going to be talking about Notes from the Underground, a little literary criticism show, something fun, something different. Happy birthday to my son. He turns 15 today. He thinks he's big and tall and stuff because he's big and tall for 15. Much love. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. To my darling wife, Patricia, happy Valentine's Day. And we will be back, I believe, March 5th with my friend Francilia, who is a PhD in psychology. So that is all we have. Thank you today for coming on, Mr. Payne. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be an anomaly. Joker out.